So I was 25 years old, just a young kid, now college a couple years. I was working at a CPA firm, do a little bodybuilding here and there, love to cook, hanging out with my friends, pretty much a normal life. Everything was going really well. Thought I was kind of on top of the world. And then one day you go to the doctors, get a blood check, and then you hear that one big C word, cancer. Wow, that's a heavy word for anybody. Thinking back now, I get all the emotions of back then, the sadness, the confusion, the where do I go from here, what now, am I going to die? I mean, that was a real thought. It's hard on everybody. The people I love, my family, my friends, everybody, it took them by surprise. In their minds, I was the epitome of health with all my bodybuilding and fitness stuff. So it can affect anybody, anytime. There's really nobody. It doesn't discriminate. Unfortunately, I had a kind of cancer that was really rare. It was the 17p deletion mutation for CLL leukemia, and for that one, it's a really aggressive leukemia, and they're pretty much the only treatment is a bone marrow transplant. So I needed to find a donor. Luckily, my brother happened to be a donor. He did a cheek swab, and he was in the database already, and they were able to match his genes up against mine and found that he was a perfect match. So just getting that little bit of comfort was so relaxing and refreshing. It definitely took a lot of weight off my family's shoulders, off my shoulders, and made it seem a little bit more realistic to beating the disease. So my brother actually did the PBSC donation, which is a pretty non-invasive procedure. It's pretty new in the developments of leukemia treatment. So what it is really is he had 2 IVs hooked up to his arm, pretty simple. One IV took blood out and put it into a centrifuge. The centrifuge is this machine that spins his blood around and it'll separate it out into different layers. And they siphon off the stem cells, which then are able to collect and use for my transplant, and the rest of the blood goes back in his body. Before the procedure, they give him a drug that just overproduces stem cells in your body. It's nothing crazy. I actually took the drug a little bit later when I was going through treatment myself, and the process with it, it makes you feel a little achy, kind of like if you had a cold, just your muscles, you feel a little sore, a little tired. But other than that, there's no side effect of it. I was really fortunate to have my brother be a match for me. That doesn't always happen. There's many people out there who don't have brothers, don't have sisters. Sometimes their parents are too old, they can't be a match. And people really do look out to this registry as a last chance for hope. Like I said it before, hope is what keeps you going. And this registry is your opportunity to be hope in someone's life who otherwise wouldn't have it. One of the biggest things that made all the difference to me, and I'm still thankful for and will always be thankful for the rest of my life, is the amount of support that I got from all my friends and family. At first it's really hard to come to terms with it yourself. I was really down, didn't sleep maybe a couple hours a night for the first few months. And then I decided to create a GoFundMe, share what I was going through with my friends, and the amount of support I got, just within 24 hours, brought me to tears. Brought me to tears for weeks. I still can't thank everybody enough for their comments, their calls, their texts, their social media posts. It really brought the whole experience to a more real standpoint, and it made me realize that no matter what I think, there are people who care about me and care about you or anybody else affected. You just have to let people know, and you'll get support. And by being the match, you're supporting people more than they could ever ask for.
So there's various ways you can join the registry. The way I did it was I reached out to be the match, and they sent me a swab kit to my home. But you send your cheek swab, it takes 25 seconds on each side. You just swab really quickly, put it in the baggie, and you send it off. About a month later, for me at least, I heard back that I had a match with somebody. And from that point, usually it'll take like a month for you to do all the testing. For me, it was a little bit differently because they were in a really big rush to have the surgery happen. So it probably only happened in like 3 weeks, but there's various tests that you have to do, blood work and things like that. And at that point forward, you'll do your surgery confirmation or your procedure confirmation. So it's very, very simple. It doesn't take a lot of your time. It's not very extended. I think the max amount of time that I did getting my blood work was 2 hours. And it was a very surreal feeling because they had told me, like, to match with somebody, first of all, like, the chances are so rare, and you have to be close in age to the person, same tissue type, ethnicity has a lot to do with it, gender has a lot to do with it. And I remember thinking, like, I wonder who it is. And whenever I found out that it was local and that it wasn't even somebody who was like across the country, because Be The Match does, they will fund your plane ticket for you to go anywhere in the country to help somebody. And when I found out that it was only like 15-30 minutes away in Washington, D.C., it was just surreal. Be The Match often states that they want people between the ages of 18 and like 25 to register for bone marrow because it's optimum age, your cells can regrow, usually like you're the best, it's the prime of your life. But as a busy college student, I was really worried about recovery and about bouncing back. I was worried about making my classes. I was worried, because bone marrow is so vital to like your system. I was worried that I was going to be lagging and that there would be a noticeable change in me and that I wouldn't be able to perform like my day-to-day life. So the actual process, maybe I don't find, because you are anesthetized whenever you donate bone marrow, I wouldn't per se say pain. I would say discomfort, soreness, sensitivity. Actually, this is not recommended, but that night I did go out to dinner with my friends, and I sat there, I had, my bandage on or whatever, and it was fine. It definitely is sore and tender, but you get used to it, and within a couple weeks, or maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks, there's no more pain. The best thing that I could liken it to is pulling a muscle. It is definitely not as painful as you would think. I would tell everyone to register and to do it because even if it's something that you have reservations about, it's something that you never know. And because you never know, you have to go for it. We all know somebody in our life that's connected to cancer or a deadly disease. We all hear of stories. There's always somebody in our community that's like in trouble or they're suffering. And the fact that not enough people are aware or informed of the fact that they could match with somebody and they could save a life in a month is so essential, and there's minimal risk associated with it, and I would just encourage everyone to go out and try. Something that's awesome about Be The Match is that they allow you to meet your patient a year after the fact. The mother reached out to me because I assisted in a pediatric case, and I remember meeting her family, and it was crazy because her family was very Italian, my family's very Italian, and I remember like just the way they were texting me and communicating with me, and whenever we met up, I had felt like I went to my own family reunion, and it was so incredible seeing and hearing their story and hearing, how well the procedure had gone, and just seeing the impact it had made in her life and having those constant updates were really awesome. You feel really connected, and I kind of felt fulfilled from that point because, as you're doing it, it kind of, you're a little nervous about it and you don't know what to expect and it's not for you and you don't see the direct change you're making. But then to meet her family a year later and to see how much better she's doing, to see photos of her the day she went in for surgery, to see the videotapes and everything, it was crazy to think that I was, in that same hospital, not knowing any of this. For me, my match was somebody that I know I'm going to keep in touch with for the rest of my life, and I look forward to seeing how she lives her life and where she is with her journey and everything.